and you thought we was going away. Nah, it's Speak Out.
But let me just reverse a bit and say good morning to the listeners of Vibes. Welcome to the program.
If I stay within my setting as a public officer, as the public relations officer, and I stay just within the office space and do not go out to the public, how will we understand what is happening on the ground?
Still delivering.
We've done a lot, not just in terms of the general infrastructure, but homes, support to farmers, support to fishermen, etc. And as time goes by, more support will be given to Carriacou and Petit Martinique.
It's Speak Out Unfiltered. Built back, even better to last.
Let us all strive to build a better country by putting aside our petty grievances and move forward with dignity, being proud of working hard and working together.
Anything that we're doing now, it's futuristic thinking. It's not for the now.
Education is the key in a country's development. That's it. If its people are not developed,
Even don't go that far, no? Just remember knowledge is power. When you know, you know.
that's it.
It's Speak Out Unfiltered.
We're happy to have you.
On Vibes 101.3 and 106.3 FM every Thursday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Do you feel the vibes? Going.
And just want to say hi again to you right here on Vibes FM, and welcome to the program Speak Out Unfiltered for today, Thursday. We're looking at the 6th day of February 2025. Good morning to the tri-island state of Carriacou, Petit Martinique, and Grenada as well. And we want to say hi to our neighbors next door, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Good morning. And our listeners on the internet, good morning. Those of you on Facebook, good morning. Wherever you're on YouTube, good morning. Wherever you are listening to the program, we want to welcome you aboard as we always do. In the meantime, I want to remind you I'm your humble servant, yours truly, Kim the King. And you can always participate in the program. And our telephone numbers to do so are 403-0101. 403-0101. You can also call 443-0101. That's 443-0101 or 458-1914. 458-1914. And we have a very interesting program, as you always know, on a Thursday, and for you to enjoy. And we're going to be taking you back and forth as we're giving you all what's happening in your community. So without further delay, let me move over to say hi to Koi, who's here already. Koi, good morning. What's up?
Good morning to you, Kim. Good morning to the listeners, wherever you are this time, especially those listeners in the diaspora. Good morning to you. Always nice to always look forward to meeting with you and exchanging ideas, discussing the things that matters. And to our people right here in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, as well as on mainland, we say good morning to you as well. And recognizing the times in which we live, this is a time for recognizing and remembering our independence as we look at 51 years of being an independent country. So I guess that in itself is a discussion we can have. Are we really independent, and what does independence mean for us, and that kind of experience. So I look forward to
A robust discussion.
a robust intellectual discourse according to our comrade.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad you spoke about independence and what's happening, because our independence will be celebrated officially tomorrow, the 7th of February,
Yes,
and it's going to be a 51st anniversary.
yes.
And that's an achievement. 51 years,
51 years. I remember when I was 50, it was such a nice feeling to at least boy half a century. That kind of way.
Yeah.
You remember 50 years ago, and I guess we can also remember 51 years ago. Where were you 51 years ago? This is the 6th of February. 51 years ago today, the 6th of February 1974. Where were you, and what were you thinking about, and what were you doing? Of course, for some people, they were planning to boycott. They were planning to put the place in darkness. For some people, they were planning to celebrate. Different things.
A lot of things was happening.
Yes, a lot of
Speaking about 51 years ago, and I remember, because I was employed at the time too. I remember back in 1974, I was a teacher, and there was so much uneasiness in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the bad thing about it, in those days, media was not as today, where you could communicate in an instant and know what's happening on the other side. Because we were in Carriacou, I remember, and we were listening to what's taking place in Grenada, but you're hearing some hearsays whenever, because telephones were not, that good yet, very few phones were on the island.
Yeah.
And you were getting the news in parts. And sometimes you don't even know what is the real news, because it's sometimes confusing.
Yeah.
But we went through it, and we today we're celebrating. But if you were to remember, you remember exactly what was taking place.
Well, I mean, not. I remember that I was in college at the time, and that was a big thing for us in college at the time. The whole idea, the issue of independence was not just a simple, straightforward thing. As I said a while ago, some were planning to boycott, shut down lights, and create chaos. And some others were, of course, planning to celebrate and to recognize the accomplishment. But I was in college, in Bishop's College at the time, and I remember, of course, as you said, the information was sketchy, but of course, we have a sense of understanding that there are some who wanted it and there are some who didn't want it, and of course, because of those who didn't want it, that news spread faster, and because people like gossip, people like chaos. No, I say it in a negative way, but I'm just saying it in a way that we rather gravitate towards those things than to hear the real truth about what happened. So I was there, and but I understood things thereafter. Reading up about it, I put it in perspective based on my own memory and so on. But it wasn't a time. I mean, it was a time. It was a time for young people have a different perspective on it. The seniors have a different perspective on it as well. So looking back at it now, it's interesting. I mean, the seniors who are around that time, I mean, I don't know most of them. I wish most of them are around to kind of reflect and say how they felt at the time. I mean, schools, children would always have I mean, schools. I mean, so yeah, and employees, workers, and so on would always have their own take. But it would be nice to hear what the seniors would be
But we can
thinking
open
now.
up the lines to, in case you want to join in the discussion about the independence. Where were you, back
51 years ago.
Yeah, 51 years ago. Where were you? What were you doing? What do you remember?
Yeah.
But, I remember, getting some information, about what was taking place on mainland Grenada. And it seemed as though there was not much cooperation among the people who really were in control, meaning the supporters, the business people, the churches, and all these things like that. They were sort of like against the independence. And when I listened to the reason that they were against independence, they just didn't want Gary
to be the prime minister. Because that would be the first time.
Right.
Because before that they were premiers.
Right.
Yes. Premier. So and once we become independent, the leader of the country, the person who was elected, as we have it now, would be the prime minister. And they just didn't want Gary to be the prime minister of the country. And of course they claim all kind of thing happening. He'll do this and he'll do that and so on. And there was a serious campaign on as to not to get it. Of course, we here in Carriacou were connected. Daddy Blaze was the opposition leader at the time.
Right.
And it was said that he and others were opposing it. Yes? Right. Opposing their move because of the same reason. We don't want this man, we don't trust this man to be the prime minister of this country. Yeah.
So we don't want independence.
So we don't want independence. And
but as you mentioned the word just now, premier.
Yes.
I remember the process of how these names changed. Because before the premier, there was the chief minister. You remember?
Yes.
Chief minister.
Yeah.
And then when we got statehood in 67, we went to the premier. And then when you get independence, we went to the prime minister. Before we go further on that, let me just try to take a call. Vibes nice. FM caller, you're on. Caller, come in.
Special good morning, Kim.
Yeah, good morning. Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Coyle. How are you doing?
Good morning to you, my brother. I'm doing well.
All right. I wish both of you all happy independence. And so, Leo.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
And Osbert.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I like the topic this morning, but I must say good morning to my NDC family, and I want to make sure we all have a happy independence, both male and female ministers and senators, and good wishes of the NDC, Ms. Gloria Thomas, Delma Thomas, our MP, Claudia Joseph, and Ms. Tessa Sente, and Queen James. I always make sure for these women. And then, Kim, you know what I like about that discussion? I was 12 years taking 13. 13 years, because yesterday was my birthday.
Yes, go ahead.
Gary talked about the food devil.
Say it again, please. You're breaking up a little bit there.
Yeah, could you remember Gary speak about the food devil?
Well, in those days, we couldn't get much, of the information out of Grenada because media was very, not as it is today.
Yeah, but I'm talking about internally. There were 4 churches that Gary talked about: the Presbyterian, the Methodist, the Catholic, and the Anglican. You remember these people joined together and come at a force to make sure the campaign for people not to vote, not to support the independence of Grenada. I know if you remember that.
I heard about it, yeah.
Them and Gary had a terrible, terrible thing. Gary always say, these are 4 churches he will never, ever, ever enter and give no support. Gary main church and his main people was the Baptist.
Yeah.
Not the Baptist church like Pastor Simon and them. Like them would have bang your head and ring bell and what it does bring on morning ground and all them things. Remember that was Gary tight spot.
Right.
And Gary had help of these people and good support through Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martin. Because I'm telling you, Gary was a kind of a man, He always been very, very rebellious towards them Catholic and them, I call them, I don't want to repeat calling them. So, Gary had a tough time. Added to that, I just want to give you some information. Well, that's not information because you read about it, you heard it in the news already. There's a talk in Grenada besides everybody, people resigning. This guy they call Archie, right, who just resigned from NNP. This man is a bright guy. This guy, everybody always have him in line for when Keith gone. That is the man up to take key position to represent Cherry Hill, Point, Mount Morris, and Happy Hill. And Gary really hurt that youth man feelings. That man was with Gary. I mean, I'm talking Gary. Was with Mitchell right through. You understand? Ram folks, all of them support that youth man right to be thing and Keith hurt the man feelings. Keith don't like nobody. Keith want to bring hot for it. And the next one, he run and get against Ron.
Oliver.
No, Oliver, man.
Oliver.
Libnod.
Nimrod Oliver, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. You're right. In front of that guy, that wasn't a crime. This man was with Keith right through as a youth man, and this guy bright, and this guy have a following in the Point and Happy Hill and same thing, But Keith is a fella. All what he wants to do is to put people in control. And he feels Grenada is he on. If I say Kim had to be the Prime Minister, Kim had to be the Prime Minister. Keith, give us a break in Grenada. Grenada is not yours. Give us a break. And the next one is, I understand GBS is doing a play, them and presentation college, about Beryl, what we name again? Beryl Cox, Beryl Nolan, and Evelyn, leading Grenada. So they're doing something with a precipice, where they're walking over the precipice, where they're walking close to the precipice, and Evelyn pulling Cox over the precipice, and Cox pulling a portion of Grenada, Carrico, and Petit Martinique to come with him. So everybody falling down. Watch. The worst thing is, if they do that act, is them come like Tommy Joseph and Sprang Along, that is a big talk in Grenada now, You could imagine Tommy Joseph and Sprang Along not from a comedian point of view, because these two men is two bright men, We just talking, it's jokes, Well, the stadium is full. Anyhow, I'll make a comeback. I'll listen all the program.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you very much.
Caller, just before you go, call you there?
It's gone already.
Gone already?
Yeah.
But I mean, I can still say it because he might come back a little later and give some comments on that. But talking about Gary at the time and his association, he had a church. His church was called Brotherhood of the Cross. And so he had a very deep spiritual connection in those, in that kind of way, and so on. So yes, he was, but of course, he opposed those that were not similar, like as he said, the four churches. Yes.
Yeah.
And what do you know? I mean, it's interesting. We can look back and think about it. I mean,
we could speak about it now, because it's our history. Wrong happened. No, but it was chaotic.
I mean, the whole situation.
The whole situation was very unstable because at the time, they didn't want the independence, and for some reasons, and the masses were against Gary.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just like that. They didn't want to have anything much to do with him. So especially being the leader, the prime minister, that was one of the factors.
But I mean, people. I remember. I recall. In reports and reading history and so on. A lot of people would have rather Daddy Blaze to be the prime minister.
Yes.
Didn't happen, but of course he came back and became
right. Yeah, after the invasion.
Yes,
but at the time
to fight for independence, and there are so many stories. Kim, you remember there was this famous saying that we get it. And when he returned, and of course people interpreted that to mean that independence was stopped, but independence can be stopped. It can be stopped.
It wasn't stopped. What Britain at the time was saying, in that in order for them to grant independence, I think they had to have a 2/3 majority.
Yes, in
or the opposition has to be on board as well. So once the opposition is on board, So that's when they had to travel to England in order for them to both sign and agree on it. And that is when Blaze came back, and we were under the impression that, well, we got it, meaning at the time, Carriacou and Peter Matnick wanted Daddy Blaze to be the leader and wanted nothing to do with Grenada.
Yes.
So now, so Blaze was trying to say, now, well, listen, we separating from Grenada.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. So we believe now that when they went up there and he came back and says, we got it, meaning we got the permission to separate from Grenada, and now Carriacou and Peter Matnick will be by itself and Grenada will be by itself. But what we understand later on is that what he was referring to was the 106
in the Constitution.
In the Constitution,
yes,
giving Carriacou and Peter Matnick
there shall be local
government.
Yes. For Carriacou and Peter Matnick. So in other words, there's no other. I mean, the Constitution is what it became then the supreme law of the land. That's what they gave us.
Right.
Rule yourself now. Deal with your issues now. And in that Constitution, the highest law in the land says, Chapter 106 says, there shall be local government for Carriacou and Peter Matnick. So in other words, I mean, that's a recognition. Up to today, we have not yet accepted. Because it's not us that say it, not the parliamentarians that say it. It's in the Constitution. Yeah. So he was able to get that inside there.
Right. And then that's when he signed.
Yes.
Because he was.
Yes, he was able to get that inside there.
Vibes FM, Lanan Kola coming.
Mr. Mills.
Yes, hello, yes.
Good morning, greetings.
Greetings.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to you. How you do?
Listen, pretty hard. Listen, very interesting conversation. You know, it is now quote unquote 51 years after this fast that was dropped on us. And personally, I believe that the truth should be told to the Grenadian people. You know, there are people in this here country, Mr. Mills, Mr. Decoy, who know. There are people who know exactly what happened. I'll give one name, Francis Alexis. He knows. He knows why Herbert Blaze had his position the independence, the quote-unquote independence of Grenada. But you see, what happened there was designed. I'm getting a kind of, I don't have anything on here.
Yeah.
Yes, it was designed, Mr. Mills. I don't know how much time you would spare me, but I'd like to give a little bit of our history here.
Go ahead.
After 1960, the United Nations had a declaration on the grand, it was called really shortened. Listen, let me turn the computer off. It's not on your station, but I think that's what given me. I'll call you back, Mr. Mills.
Okay, no problem at all. All right, thank you so much, Dan. If you want to join the conversation, you can always call us at 443-0101, 443-0101, 403-0101, or 458-1914. As Citizen Rollo was just saying there, you know, there's a history leading up to the entire thing, you know, and this is something that we sometimes need to bring back. As a matter of fact, I think this present government is making the emphasis to make sure that we, in the schools,
document those things.
Yes, Grenadian history.
Part of our history.
No, it is, because a lot of people don't know what happened back in those days, you know. But it was something else. I mean, it was something that we lived, and in many instances we weren't even privileged in Carriacou to even get information as much as was taking place at the time, you know. But so much has happened because of the forces that were against Gary and in the independence, you know.
Yeah, where were you on this day? Let's look back in time. Where were you 51 years ago? Where were you? Because this is when we entered into we left our statehood and
to go into
to go into be an independent country. Some would argue that better we had remained under statehood. But the trending thing those days, England wanted to give.
Yeah, England wanted to get rid of. They wanted to get rid of us.
Yeah. So
there was no if about it, you know. They were tired of us. They wanted to get rid of us, and they was willing to give independence. Vibes FM, caller.
That's correct, Mr. Mills.
Yeah.
Because the declaration on decolonization of 1960, sometimes called the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to colonial countries and peoples, demanded through the United Nations that the European powers begin granting independence to the country. Remember the heat of the thing and so on? It started in Africa and other parts. So what did they do with the Caribbean, where they had some influence? They established the West Indies Act. I want to refer to two particular points. The West Indies Act, Section 10, subsection 1, made provision for the territories as they were named to gain their independence. The first, in Section 1, subsection 1. Any of the territories joined with another territory, for instance, I'm giving an example, it's not written there, St. Vincent and Grenada, were to get in the parliament a 2/3 majority, whatever the size of the parliament, 2/3 majority. And additionally, get a 2/3 majority in a referendum. Clearly, in 1972, in the hot years in Grenada, Gary didn't dare go into referendum, but it was an option, which he referred to immediately because that was the trap that the British set for us. They gave an option. Subsection 2 said clearly, or says clearly, it's still there, that the territory wishing independence can request of and consent to Her Majesty to unilaterally write a constitution order. And I underline the word order. And I challenge any lawyer in this here country to contradict me on that. I'm waiting for them, but they want to talk, Mr. Mills. Here,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gary caught the thing. Well, all right, we will get independence. So it doesn't matter. So on the 12th and 15th of October, you remember they went to Marlborough House and so on in May of 1973.
Yeah.
And they made that activation and they presented it and so on. And they made it look as if the people were so involved, but it was Gary and the team, including Blaze. On the 12th and 15th of October 1973, in the Houses of Parliament in Grenada, they gave the consent to Her Majesty to write it. And that the order was written on the 19th of December 1973 to take effect on the 7th of February. 1973 to take effect 7th February 1974. It did not request in any part of it that the provisions made in the Constitution order were to pass through, presented, laid before the Parliament of Grenada. And that's where the trap was. Because if they did not pass through, as they didn't, the Parliament of Grenada, then the authority for Grenada will still remain in the person who signed the order. Who signed the order? Her Majesty Elizabeth Regina II. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And it continues to be a constitution order. What is an order? Orders are instructions. The people of Grenada had nothing to do because it was written in the law made by the said British, subsection 2, section 10, subsection 2, which gave the Queen the authority to do it. Now check it out. When they tell us today that we are sovereign, well, they've been saying for 51 years, and of course I must indeed tell you, my dear brothers and sisters, that I believed it too until, with the assistance of some other people, when I was blind, thank God I wasn't blind before. I know things may have changed. Listen, that is where they duped us.
Yeah.
But it has been done. And we can't turn the hands of the clock back. But we know now. How do we know now? We know now. Oh, I wanted to say this too before going any further. On the 17th of May, the day before the conference ended in Marlborough House, in 1973, Robert Blaze presented it. And what he presented a letter about, he was concerned, not because they didn't want Gary to be prime minister, no, he had to be because he was the premier. According to the laws established by the British government, he was there written on that Grenadians said they didn't want him, no, that's all talk. The fact is that they did not take the course of the referendum, and that is how Blaze felt, and the team that that represented the opposition in Grenada, that's how they felt. But Gary got it because it was designed that way. There's a section that the Lord in the House of Lords, what I'll do, I'll try to cue it up, I have it on a recorder here, and a little later on I'll play it back, to hear an Englishman in the Parliament, House of Lords, making a statement about the granting of independence to the territory. We can, and that they, in fact, could not tell the Grenadian people what to do with their leadership. It will be up to them. But that as it is, came 1974. As a matter of fact, the document published in 2002 by Nicholas Liverpool et al. Included Bristol, may he rest in peace, the same Nicholas Liverpool, who was a jurist from Dominica. He had to leave the post to go back to Dominica of the presidency. Well, did we have there? Mackintosh, a Caribbean legal luminary at the University of the West Indies.
Mm-hmm.
Then Reverend today Father Gerard Paul and Basil Harford. Now, the only one of these 5 people alive today is Gerard Paul. And I want to challenge him very soon to come forward and tell the people of Grenada what he knew about the discussions and the decision taken, because he was he co-signed that document published in 2002, where it was outlined what the Constitution, in other words, Danny Williams, may he too rest in peace, and the government of Grenada headed by Keith Mitchell then, recognized the deficiency. They called on this commission, they commissioned this team legally to look into the Constitution. A document produced as a sort of orientation document sets out clearly what they after the investigation and what they advised us to do. This document, Mr. Mills, have you ever seen it? Coy, have you ever seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
You know, Mr. Coy, can you put your hand on it? It is important to read that document to the Grenadian people.
Mm-hmm.
Because they hid it until it was discovered by some other people. In 2015, there about when the talk about constitutional reform came about, and we brought it to the fore. The document says crystal clearly what we were supposed to do. It begins part because it still exists, by saying what a constitution is, the basic law of a country. It says where it gets its authority. No, but what is authorized to? It also gives authority to all the laws and entities of the state. And it went on to say where the Constitution gets its authority. Huh?
Okay.
From the people through popular referendum or not. But we never did that. The people had nothing to do with that document. That is why it continues to be an imperial order, because the Queen signed it. That's what I'm trying to say here, brothers and sisters, we have to understand. Look for the meaning of the word sovereignty and you see what the sovereign is. Take a look at the isosceles triangle. The sovereign is to the top. There can be a sovereign. There can never ever be a sovereign over a sovereign. And if Grenada is sovereign because it has gained independence, because that's what it means, then how can we be ruled by a king? Well, not a king, but then a monarchy. Listening to the Governor General when at the death of Elizabeth Regina in a couple of years ago, I can't remember now, there was a proclamation read out this crystal clear. They're calling upon the so-called Governor General, calling upon the Grenadian to pray for Charles Rex III, high and the mighty, who was not mine, to reign over us. Mr. Mills, have you ever heard these words?
Yeah, to reign over us. Yeah.
So what is that, my dear brothers?
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm trying to round it off, and not to take much time, is that it's time that we end the fast. We cannot turn the clock back. It has happened, we lived through it. But now that we know, why continue to hide it? So when I tell you there are people in this country that know, because in discussions prior to the two referendums passed, we were told in no uncertain terms, one, and I love these adjectives, one, it was two. One big white boy told me, but Citizen Rollo, it's too convoluted. You know what convoluted means? Remember the convoluted tubes in your kidney, you know what it means? Yeah? I know that would be too complex, but there's one of them who also told me on a program on George Grant some years ago, because I used to challenge him and we used to talk about it.
I know.
You know what he said to me? Yes, he agrees that it can be done in 18 to 24 months. We're talking about reforming the Constitution because that serves this purpose. And now that the people know, let's correct it. So I beg the people, you're getting food and drink, you're enjoying yourself, spectacle with marches, and in my day, the police used to be great. We used to like to go down and see them. We believed in it. And then listen to the royal salute. There's a royal salute. Why we saluting to a royal salute? What is that? Why we have Her Majesty's, no, His Majesty's, the Royal Grenada Police Force? The land that we're living on, it has been said by one famous man some years ago, United States citizen, that if you have no land, you have no sovereignty. The land in Grenada are crown lands. And there is a reason for that, brothers and sisters. So when they come and tell that we're independent, I repeat, we cannot change. But we know now that it's been a fast. Yeah. But they have money, so they spend it and enjoy themselves. Do not participate in this crap and call upon them to stimulate, generate, create a resolution in the parliament to ask the people of Grenada, once and for all, if we want to continue to live under an imperial order and council of the Queen's most excellent majesty, or that we wish to write our own constitution through a constituent assembly. We'll talk a little more about the constituent assembly because I intend to give them kandanga kumburundanga this year. We're going down the road, we shall be blasting them. They have to be respectful to the people of this here country, this ruling class. And I want to name one more thing. This Grenada Monarchist League. Have you ever found out, Mr. Coy, who these people are? I think you all should try to find out who constitute the Grenada Monarchist League. Okay. This is a part of it. I'll cue up that recording from this British Lord and we'll play it later.
Listen,
I just want to guide the people to where we are, why we must bring this fast to an end. Thank you and have a nice day.
Hold on, hold 1 second. Give me 1 more minute of a time. I want to ask the question about when we had federation and what transpired there. What was the whole reason behind that?
There were T.A. Marichaud and some other Caribbean people, including Eric Williamson, and they got together because they saw the need of the Caribbean coming together as a body, as a unit. We'd have they understood that we'd have greater voice in global affairs and otherwise.
Right.
And they did that. But again, let me tell you this, Mr. Mills. That's why you can't trust Europeans. The Europeans, when they saw the capacity of this federation, because of what it means, coming together, they decided to take advantage of the situation. And the rich ones in the 4 bigger countries, to a lesser extent Guyana, because of its distance and closeness to South America, what they did was industrialize the other 3, namely Jamaica, Barbados,
and
Trinidad. You take a look at the supermarket shelves today and you'll see.
Yeah.
Everything is made there. And we, the smaller ones, served as a market for them. That is why Jamaica pulled out, because that's what they wanted. And then the others pulled out. And of course, Eric Williams said if you remove
1 from 10, you leave 0.
Not from the 10. There's only 1 you have, isn't it? Or something like that?
Or you take the 1 from the 10. 1 from 10.
But it was a great idea. You remember with the Federation, brother? I remember the Federal Maple and the Federal the Caribbean.
Right.
Keeping our people in touch relatively cheaply. People used to move to,
Yes.
And there were other things, but there was no big business in it. That's what they do. That's what the Europeans do. They're evil people. But we could talk about the history of Europe anyway. Take somebody else another time.
All right. Thank you so much, citizen. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Very, very interesting, our history. And this is thing that we need to document and get it known out there. Let people know, let our people, our youths growing up now, know what transpired.
But Kim, as Citizen Rolo there mentioned, and you talked about the Federation. T.A. Marichaud, of course, there's a educational institution in his name, but you don't hear much. He's not given the same kind of discussion point, T.A. Marichaud, in terms of his contribution towards where we are now, the whole issue of federation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need to step back a little bit and try to understand.
Because you see, those things were never highlighted in schools in our history. We grew up without knowing that,
Yeah.
And it's sad because we need to recognize what transpired, especially when you have our own, participating. Now you just see a T.A. Marichaud Community College and it's like just a name. That's it.
And he played a very, very, very big, because the federation came before all these things that we are talking about now.
Right. Yes.
You know what? It paved the way. I mean, it didn't work out then, of course, because of that. I mean, and one can recall that famous statement by Williams. One from 10 leaves zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so 10 of us and one leaves.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
1 from 10 leaves zero.
And that's when they started off the independence now and gets it. I think Jamaica was first, maybe, or Trinidad.
Jamaica.
They were very close.
Yes.
Yeah. Jamaica was 61 or 60. No, Trinidad was 61 or 62.
61.
61, yeah.
61, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing that we need to understand, how do we get here? Why are we here in this state now? Now we're talking about, in fact, in recent times, they were talking about republic. Yeah. So there's a constant change of times and things and names and recognition, federation. We're talking about the whole issue of statehood. We're talking about independence. And now, where are we? We might be talking about republic. Things will change.
In time, yeah.
In time. But we must understand the context and understand how we arrived at this state we are in now. To be saying we are celebrating 51 years of our independence. These are important things for us and our history.
Definitely. And our telephone numbers again, 443-0101, 443-0101, 403-0101, 403-0101, and 458-1914, 458-1914. It's very interesting in going back and to see where we are, where we were, and where we are today. Mm-hmm. And we're celebrating now 51 years of the anniversary, call it an anniversary. But the question always been asked, are we really independent? You
find that question is forever. Almost every independence celebration, people ask the question, are we really, truly independent? Some people say what we have is political independence. But for economic independence, we are far, 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 far. We're still struggling. So do not just use a blanket word and say we are independent, because that may be so politically, because we have our right now to choose our own government and so on and so forth. But can we genuinely say that we are economically independent? All the social things that we need, do we have it? So that's one thing that we need to truthfully answer. Are we genuinely, in all aspects of things, genuinely is an independent person or independent country?
Yeah. Okay. Just a little bit, give a little bit of the history of where we were, where we are, where we came from. Listen to this.
A brief history of Grenada. Before the 14th century, Grenada was settled by Caribs who displaced the earlier population of Arawaks. Christopher Columbus visited the island in 1498 and named it Conception, later being named by the Spaniards after their own city, Grenada. European settlement was slow to follow due to the fierce resistance of the warlike Caribs. Although Britain and France in particular competed for control. A company of London merchants tried and failed to form a settlement in 1605. The French launched more concerted attacks until by 1674 they had subdued the Caribs and gained control of the island. By 1753, Grenada was a flourishing French possession, with 100 sugar mills and 12,000 enslaved Africans working in the industry. The Caribs had been exterminated. Britain took over from France in 1763 under the Treaty of Paris, and again, having meanwhile lost control, in 1783 under the Treaty of Versailles. Britain introduced the cultivation of cocoa, cotton, and nutmeg. By the time of the emancipation of slaves in 1833, the slave population had reached 24,000. National political consciousness developed through the labor movement with the formation of the Grenada Manual and Mental Workers Union. In the new environment, a union organizer, Eric Matthew Gary, formed the first political party, the pro-union, pro-independence Grenada United Labour Party. In 1951, the Grenada United Labour Party won the elections and Gary became leader of the assembly. The Grenada National Party, GNP, led by Herbert Blaise, held power between 1957 and 1961, and again 1962 to 1967. Grenada joined the Federation of the West Indies in 1958. When that was dissolved in 1962, it evolved first into an associated state with full internal self-government in 1967, and then towards independence, the core of the GULP platform. Independence was achieved in 1974, and Grenada became a constitutional monarchy with Gary as Prime Minister and Queen Elizabeth II as head of state, represented by a Governor General. Strikes during the independence preparations, which almost prevented the transition, were suppressed by, it was claimed, mongoose gangs operating in the manner of Haiti's Tonton Macoute. In 1979, while absent in the US, Gary was deposed in a coup by the opposition leader Maurice Bishop, who took the New Jewel movement, NGM, into power as the People's Revolutionary Government. The new government created state farms and industries and forged links with the socialist world. With Cuba's assistance, it began construction of the modern international airport of Point Saline. Within the government, there was discontent on the far left about the pace of change. In 1980, there was an abortive plot to murder Bishop, and anti-government violence increased. In October 1983, after a military coup in which Bishop, 2 other ministers, 2 union leaders, and 13 bystanders were killed, Bishop's deputy Bernard Court took control and set up a revolutionary military council. At the request of the OECS, in late 1983, the US then invaded Grenada, supported by a token force of 300 police from Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent the Grenadines. The Governor General, Sir Paul Spoon, took control of an interim administration and almost fully reinstated the 1974 Constitution and organized elections for a new government. The New National Party, a 4-party merger led by Herbert Blaise and supported by the neighboring islands, easily defeated Gary's GULP at the December 1984 general election, and Blaise became Prime Minister. In the following 6 years, the NNP became increasingly strained by its different components, and Blaise's government came under attack for its use of the Emergency Powers Act of 1987.
Okay, so there we have it. See, that's a brief history, of what transpired, the lead up and everything like that, to our independence today,
And it's important that we understand that, so we can understand where we are today. And I mean, just as how we have changed our status in so many ways over the years, I believe in time to come there will be also changes and we will become a republic. No, it hasn't yet happened. But just as how things I'm saying, we go from statehood to independence. At one time, we were part of the federation. So things are going to change. I mean, we never know what's going to happen. Listen, the world is changing, Things are happening that we don't even expect to happen, So things are changing. And so one day we might be, well, I might not be around, but we're going to be talking as a people about federation, about being a republic. A republic, yeah.
Well, that talk has been in the air already, As a matter of fact, if you listen to Trinidad has gone that way. I think Barbados.
Dominica is one, but it's a republic, and are we going to not pay attention to our history and understand the processes of things, basically?
But the important thing, though, it's as we realize, and the question been asked, as it pertains to our constitution, we need to write our own constitution.
Yeah. But we do have a great point there. We have not taken ownership of it. All what we are operating on is what they gave us. We have to take ownership. And how do we do it? The people have to say so. Of course, either we continue with.
But if I'm not mistaken, I think in order for us to do anything like that, like the referendum,
has to, yes,
we have to have what they call a 2/3 majority. Now, is it easy to get a 2/3 majority?
I think it is easy if both of the government and the opposition unite on that effort, because it's not a partisan thing. It shouldn't be a partisan thing. This is the country, and this is what we want to govern our country, whether you are in opposition or whether you are in leadership. You will not be in opposition for the rest of your life. You're not being governed for the rest of your life. So sometimes things change. So understand that if we work together and we influence what governs us and how we should be ruled and so on, what we should believe in, and so I think it can happen. So yes, it can happen, but it's just that we
we are divided.
So divided.
And that's sweet because if you remember, we had the referendum and on two occasions,
yes.
and on both occasions it failed.
Yes.
Now you ask yourself the question: why did it fail? What's the reason?
Well,
we can come together as one to decide what we want, or we think that if it happens while you are there, you'd have advantages, or you'd be favored. Depends on what changes that are made. Because there's a few things that in the constitution that they tried to see if they could
and something they tried to put into
right.
Yes. For example, the term limit.
Right.
Once you are prime minister, you can be prime minister for more than 2 years consecutively. So they give you and again, that's what's happening. That's what's trending elsewhere. You have to have control. You can't just be there forever. You could be doing things just to make sure that you are there. So we have to have some checks and balances. And one of the proposals that was made in the review was to include term limit for prime ministers.
Right. And some people want to be there for life.
Well, yes.
Well, it's happening
some
now.
People behave as though they want to stay for life. So it's interesting, and students of history or students or all of us should really pay attention to these kind of things that have happened. What are we going to be like in 20 years time, in 30 years time? What are we going to be like? Now it's 2025, and we celebrating our 51st anniversary of independence, and we waving the flag, and we waving the colors, and we these are things that's taking place now.
Let me take a call. Vibes FM, landline caller coming.
Good morning, Brother Mills, brethren.
Yes, go ahead.
And I've been following you and especially Mr. John Rollo. What we have to do is, what do you recommend? The last conversation, I'm glad to bring up the history. You need to read the stuff that you all have had and get to know more, just like you guys know. And bring us up to today. What's trending on like you just said. And moving to what you call it, Republic.
Yeah.
It's to, according to John Rollo, is to vote independence. And you're trying to get that or 2/3 and break up the monopoly that they have and get the best of the ministers on both party, and even the whole Grenadian group of people, the nation, see what's going on, and they should know by you trying to push what you're doing there. And what Mr. Roland is saying, I agree with him 100%. What you're doing is 100%. More people need to know is to vote independent at the next election and get the ministers to get that 2/3 and do what we need to do now, current, present, and started the whole new government with what you call the Republic going on currently for the next voting election.
Okay, thank you so much, caller. Yeah, and you can always call us. Don't forget the lines are still open. 403-0101, 403-0101, 443-0101, and 458-1914. Getting our history into the school, I think, is one of the first steps. One of the things we should really, really take advantage of right now. Let them know our history.
I could understand. I can understand why it's not taught in our schools. Why? I mean, when I grew up in school, we had a West Indian history, very little of Grenadian history. Of course, you have to do it on your own.
Yes.
Yeah. But so why it is that we haven't seen the value and virtue of teaching our own history? We need to know it. I mean, what I'm saying that however, this present administration is putting emphasis on getting us to know our history. Our history. In fact, there were some people who wrote our history books and was adopted into our school systems, and that happened within the past 2 years. Yeah. So we need to deliberately take steps to ensure that we know our history, we remember our history, because the people who don't know their history is likely to be doomed.
Yeah, but that's it too. So I think we're on the right track right now as it pertains to that. Now, someone just posed a question and asked there, which we know we exist under those conditions about the Governor General. What's the purpose of a Governor General?
Represent the monarchy? Yeah. I mean, they didn't just say, look, you all go on all you want. We retain some power and authority, albeit not in any substantive way, but we retain some power and we put somebody there that would represent our interests.
But the sad thing about it is that we have to pay for that representation.
Yeah.
Vibes FM caller coming.
Yes, Mr. Mills, I beg your humble indulgence, sir.
Yeah.
Because I really do enjoy the conversation today. I really is. The way we had to go, Mr. Mills. This is where we had to go. We've been falling short. The truth has to be told to the people. Pretty good information. A review of our history by Mr. What was the name again? The lawyer there.
Jimmy Bristol. Jimmy Bristol.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Very good. But he mentioned something which slipped me to talk about. I always remember. You see the story about being a constitutional monarchy? You remember him talking about it?
Yes.
That is what we converted, or we were converted into. And they passed it off as political independence. Political independence is a different thing. Political independence establishes sovereignty. And if you're a constitutional monarchy, wherever there's monarchism, there can be no democracy. And there can never be total ownership of what is yours. This is why I'm challenging these. These fellas wouldn't go into debate with a crazy, and I'm saying it as it is because that's how they refer to me, a crazy blind jackass. But it's strange. Grenadians, I should ask you, you don't find it strange? They want to talk that crazy man like that. You don't find it strange? Because they know. Listen, if they open their mouths today, Mr. Mills, they have to admit the truth to the people. That's why they're keeping it silent. That's why they're keeping it silent. They don't talk about it, and because they are pardon the learned quote on learned ones who the hell is all of the talk. But let them challenge me. Listen, miss, if I were to say, I don't know if I said this here recently. I mentioned this analogy. If I were to get up as a mechanic and I say, I assure you, brothers and sisters, population, that if you pour water into your vehicle, it will run as normal as with gasoline. You can imagine what will happen after that, Mr. Mills. Everybody will be down on me, won't they? Yeah. Clearly? Where you get that crazy, more crazy than anything. All right. Well, those are the especially the mechanics will challenge me, and the chemists and so on, and because they know what gasoline is and its purpose, and they know what water cannot do, obviously. But if I make a challenge out to these learned ones and they're not saying anything, you don't understand that is where the defeat is. They know. And it is just about time we do the correct thing. Mr. Coy, as I end on this one, we have to be meticulously careful when we speak of independence in relation to the country at this level. Because independence can mean self-sustainability, all right? That ability to sustain, maintain, survive, without assistance of anybody else. And there's no country in the world that can live like that. Not even the high and mighty London, England, nor the United States with all the richness. But that is not the context. When we speak of independence generally, in this context as a day like today, we're talking about political independence. But we just leave the word political out and we say independence. I remember challenging a so-called minister one time. Today she's the leader of the opposition party. And when I spoke, I said there is nobody in this world, no country in this world that is independent because everybody had to import here. Jesus Christ. That is not what we're talking about here. You can have all the money in the world, Mr. Mills, but you're not independent. I'm not referring to you first. I'm just
right, yeah.
Out.
Yeah, okay.
You understand me?
Yeah.
You're not independent because you have to buy. You have to buy food. We don't get somebody else that supply it. You're not independent. Not self-sustainability is not what we're referring to here. We're talking about the right to govern your own affairs without any interference from anybody else or any domination of a sovereign power. If we were to analyze, well, Mr. Mills, things just come to me. To enter the United Nations as a democratic country, there are four principal things, elements that we. One, a defined population. We will tick the box, can't we?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A government that is capable has the capacity to negotiate with others around the world. We can take that box, eh?
Yeah.
A defined territorial integrity. We can take that, huh?
Yeah.
There's a little difference with the Caribou and the boundary in whatever the point is towards St. Vincent. So.
Yeah,
But that can be trashed out.
Mhm.
But the last one, Mr. Milton, if we can take this one, not ruled by a foreign power, can we take this one? So you see, if the United Nations were to do the work, they would recognize that Grenada should not even be in the United Nations. But I remember very well, if we were to read the Hansard reports on Grenada, 1973 and 1974, when the question was asked, in both houses, the question was asked, when you grant Grenada this form of independence, how will they get into the United Nations? You know what the answer was from the leader of government business, Lord Gorawny? No, the question was posed by Lord Gorawny, Robert. And one Baroness Tweedsmore responded, Her Majesty government will take care of that. We've been paid because England is England, United, you understand, man? But we do not qualify. See, the reason why Bonaire and Curaçao and so on are not, neither Guadeloupe, no, because then they have been identified as territories of the other major powers. But the British government fixed up everything and so on. Because they are you understand?
Yeah.
So we've been fooled. And now that we know, Mr. Coyne, please read that document for me, please. Do the people a favor in this here country. Have the balls, guts, and the will to do it. So the people of the country has come out of the slumber that they have put up in all these years, 51 years, and we're going higher and higher, and we're being bluffed. Read the document. I have the document in my system, but right now I cannot retrieve it. Read the document for me, not for me, pardon.
Yes.
Read the document for the people, Mr. Paul. Help to alleviate the people from this state.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's the responsibility that we have, Kim.
Well, you have a job to do.
Yeah.
You have a job to do.
You know, in fact, just not too long ago, I was looking at it. I saw it in what I call my archives. It's there. The report is there. There are a lot of things that we need to learn. We need to know. The report, the Cheltenham report, and all these reports are there, and it's intended to inform us as to the state of play at the time. I mean, and how should we interpret it? Basically, you know what is happening. And the question is, why aren't we following the recommendations? I mean, there are a lot of positive recommendations there, but why aren't we following it? I guess because for some people who have to apply it, it's not in their interest. So there are other things to. There are to let things go in the way it is going, and hide knowledge, hide information, because we still believe that knowledge is power, and when you know, you're stronger, and that speaks towards your independence. You don't have to depend on people to explain things, and you understand things through your own eyes. So I mean, it's so important that we go on this journey to educate people, and of course, certainly yes. I mean, I will take up that challenge.
But do you think that we would ever get to that point, in our history, in our existence, as to be away entirely like a republic, from this monarchy and the political independence that we speak about?
The more we have programs as these, and people as Citizen Rolo, and people, educators, people who want to understand, yes, it's possible, because the changes that we had, it was because in part, not wholly and solely, but because people advocated for it. People saw changes, yes, and we saw some. I mean, albeit it did not last long in so many ways. But the point is that it can happen, and if we continue to educate, because that's where the knowledge comes from, education. I ain't talking about just book education. I'm talking about practical education, where we understand, that who we are, our identity. And how can we come together to build ourselves together and look out for each other? I mean, so it can happen. We just have to be committed to it and understand that,
Vibes FM, caller.
Yes, brothers. I want to bring you to a press. I'm into mechanics myself. The first German VW had worked on water.
Go ahead, sir. I missed that. What was he saying?
I didn't hear fully about this. The first some vehicle that walked on water. I don't know if it's that I heard. But it's close to something that what I heard. I don't know. Why didn't they stay to
No, he just made a statement and then
the first something
to walk on water.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting it in my head. The first German vehicle. I don't know vehicle. No, I ain't commenting on that. But I'm just saying, based on what I think I heard, that's what I understand. But however, you can always call, and because it's important that we discuss our history.
But speaking about discussing our history, what I realize is that we, in general, are very reluctant to document and to speak about our history. For some reason, I don't know if it's political or not,
But no, Kim, also remember, we come from a tradition. The African tradition is more an oral history. So you'll find, it started here. You'll find these seniors, citizens, the elders and so on in the community talking about what happened. So the younger ones, as they listen, they would learn the history.
We need to document. Vibes FM.
Yes, good morning to you, Kim and Mr. Coy. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Yes, I hope all is well. I hope independence is shining in Karakou.
Okay.
The sun is shining.
I looked at the church service and I find the people who are not wearing the colors, but I hope that today the colors are out.
Well, yes.
Anyhow, I am calling to ask the question. Do you think that politics can corrupt history?
That's an interesting question. Very, very interesting question. I believe so.
Politics is also history.
Yeah.
Because when we go to school, we learn certain things in school. There is a history book called The People Who Came.
Yeah.
We learn all that.
Yeah.
We learn about, in that history book, because of who wrote the history, they had the Caribs and the Arawaks for the Kalinago and the Arawakan people, because they wanted to belittle them. But aren't they part of our ancestors?
Correct.
Who taught us to fish with net? Who named your little island Karakou? That is a Carib word, according to the books. And you know how the original spelling is? K-A-Y-R. Write it down, Mr. Coy. I know you like that. K-A-Y-R-Y-O-U-A-C-O-U.
Yeah, Kariakou.
Hence the reason why the people on that island say differently to us who grew up with the word C-A-R-R-I-A-C-O-U. Because C-A-R-R-I-A-C-O-U is Karakou.
Yeah.
But the original name of it was how you say it. I listen every time with interest how you say Karakou. K-A-Y-R-Y-O-U-A-C-O-U. No. When the independence was being discussed and so on, they had committees. Mr. Gary had also they had some books under Mr. Gary's government. They had some little booklets and so booklets with short stories and this word, how the spelling of Karakou came from a comic book on Grenada. Right? A comic book. Okay. And all those were in the making, to get people to understand our history, to break it down to children level and so, to break it down. So, because there's a short story on Batway. I saw a copy, but today we say Bathway. But it's the Batway because the area was named after the Batway fish, so there's no H. But you see, we learn the things in school in the books. We learn all that. And when we get big now, the politicians tell us what to say. So the politicians will tell us we are Africans.
Yeah.
We're not saying that we don't have African in our blood. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we're made up of different parts, and all the people who came left something to make the Caribbean man. Yeah?
Right.
Yes. So who used to fish and hunt with spears and thing?
Okay.
Right? And then again, you played a piece, although it has a little error in it. You played a piece read by Jimmy Bristol, but because it wasn't Bernard Cord who was in charge of the RMC, it was Hudson Austin. But however, when we look at all that deep history that we learn in school, why are we learning that only to pass exams? And then when we come out now, the politicians telling us now what to say, telling us their mantra. Yeah? We have all different parts. The African people don't call us African. They refer to us. I had Africans living in my home. They refer to us as Caribbean people because they understand our history. Yeah? We ought to stop feeling less of a person and that we have to go back somewhere and stay right here and understand ourselves, our history, and love up ourselves. We have to stop saying who's speaking bad and who ain't speaking bad. When you say the people speaking bad, by whose standard? By whose standard? What? One time Grenada was a French island. The French, they pronounce their words different. They have a different construction in their sentences. When we say how they call you, where we got that from? Where we got that from? So we really must come back to roots and understand ourselves. Because the politicians are also embedded in our history as to what they have done to us. Some of them, they will be remembered for what they have done to us. But the last thing I would add is that look at what the system has done to our culture. The system has imported now another country's culture by way of the tablets that they have imported, and children are using that. So the children are seeing now, they're seeing an outside culture, an American culture. Yeah? We take the time to kind of program these tablets into our kind of style of living. Why a child can look in the tablet and see children sucking mangoes and mango juice running down there? No, they would see Captain America and they would see, and all these things, and they would refer to children as kids, kids and so on. We need to pay attention to what we are doing before we condemn those young people going the wrong way, because we are helping them. We are empowering them with those tablets. Anyhow, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution as well, too.
Yes.
And to remind our listeners that this morning we have that fire chat with our Prime Minister together with, what's his name again? Angoti, I think.
The billionaire?
Yes,
from Africa.
Right, okay.
Yes.
And they are just about starting, so we promise we're going to pick it up live for those of you who might be interested in hearing what transpires. Trying to see if I could get the
audio from the line.
As a matter of fact, it's on, but I think they have a little bit of a issue right there now with the. Okay, as soon as they're back, we're gonna join them. But it's nice to know that we have.
It's on.
It's on now.
It's on. Yes.
All right. I'm not hearing anything. GIS seem to be having a little bit of a.
But I'm having it here.
Is it playing?
Yeah.
Okay. As soon as they're ready, we.
Wow, this is interesting.
Okay, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, it's coming on now.
Now the theme for today is entrepreneurship and leadership, cultivating a growth mindset for success.
That's mine here.
Oh no, I'm not getting it. Seem to have a little bit of an issue. Let me see if I could just get back out and get back in, because we think it's important that we
the conversation is
the conversation, yes, but it's just in the stage of the beginning, right?
Wow, and we have about 287 people already.
24. I'm seeing all that, but we seem to have a little issue there. All right, as soon as I have it corrected, we're gonna bring it. Okay. But to remind our listeners, if you want to call, you can still call at 443-0101, 443-0101, 439-0101. You can also call us right here live and get your views as we try to see if we could pick up the fast chat live this morning right here on Yes, okay. I think we have it now.
All right.